Hello, Dr. Andrea Maxim, naturopathic doctor and the creator of the Maxim movement. And for the next 4 videos, I want to really get into detail about number 1, what the difference is between a food sensitivity and a food allergy. Then we're going to talk about how to test for it, how to analyze if your digestive system is working properly. And then the final video is going to be some interesting things that you may not have known about how foods can cross-react and other sources of food sensitivities that you may not have been aware of. So the very first thing that I find a lot of people just do not know enough about is exactly how their digestive tract is working. So our digestion starts with our mouth. As soon as we smell or taste food, it's usually the salivary response that kicks in. Then it goes down our throat. The movement down the throat triggers stomach acid to start being secreted, and then it goes into the small intestine where we get bile secreted from the gallbladder, we get digestive enzymes secreted from the pancreas, and then it goes into the small intestine, the rest of it for absorption, finally into the large intestine where we create our bowel movement, and then finally through the rectum where the bowel movement comes out. So very often do we just think, oh, well, I eat food, it goes into my stomach, it comes out, awesome, that's how our digestive tract works. But the problem is with today's society and how busy we are, we're not interacting with food anymore. We're not smelling food. We're not engaging with food. We're, going through a drive-through and picking up food that's already been made, or we're eating food out of a wrapper or a package, and therefore we're not getting that smell from it. We're not, getting that salivary response going. And so one of the big things we need to be doing if you really want your digestive tract to start working and to prevent food sensitivities from occurring is we need to kind of go back to basics and start making your own food, getting used to the smell of food again, getting used to wanting food and having that desire for food, not necessarily eating on the run, and creating that salivary response. Because it's really that salivary response that's going to trigger the stomach acid to create that lava that's going to break down your food into such small pieces that it's so easy for your digestive tract to break it down and absorb those nutrients. And so on the slide, you'll see I have some signs of hypochlorhydria, or what is otherwise known as low stomach acid. And a lot of these things, a lot of my patients have. They're just having chronic gas and bloating, and no matter what they eat, even water sometimes, is causing their digestive system to feel out of balance. And it's that stomach acid that's actually your first line of defense against parasites, yeast, other bacteria, other issues with your food, and of course it's going to protect you against malabsorption because it's going to help to break down your food into really small bits that you can properly absorb. So you definitely want to be looking at how you're interacting with food and how your body is then interacting with the food that you are consuming, because that first and foremost can definitely tell you if what you're doing is just not working. Now, with regards to how the digestive tract works, what you're going to see here is we have some intestinal cells here, and they're all linked very tightly with these tight junctions. And these tight junctions keeps the cells really nice and tight together, which only allows nutrients to go through. And once it goes through, it enters the bloodstream, and when it's in the bloodstream, then our body gets delivered those nutrients. However, if we are exposed to any one of the things at the top here, whether it's dietary proteins, and that can be, for instance, with cow dairy, we have casein or whey as an example of a dietary protein, parasites, and one of the biggest ones that's affecting a lot of people and is very rarely detected is H. pylori. H. pylori is a pretty serious parasite that thrives in the stomach and the stomach acid, and it really kind of corkscrews in there and stays there for a long time if it's not properly detected. And what it does is it actually neutralizes your stomach acid, and it's one of the major causes for hypochlorhydria or low stomach acid. But also yeast overgrowth is something we need to look at, blood sugar issues, environmental toxins, xenoestrogens, which is a big thing that I talk about with a lot of my patients, and that's man-made estrogens we're being exposed to, as well as, of course, for this topic, food sensitivities. So with exposure of any of these triggers, eventually it's going to cause inflammation of the gut lining, and it's going to start to wear down these little microvilli, or these little fingers that are at the ends of every intestinal cell, and it's also going to start breaking down those tight junctions. When that happens, the cells start to become separated, and this is where we start to come into that whole leaky gut syndrome, because essentially that's exactly what's happening. Is your digestive tract is so leaky that everything that's being passed through it is starting to get through the intestinal lining into your bloodstream. And what happens when everything gets into the bloodstream is it can go just about anywhere in the body. And this is why so often food sensitivities just aren't linked to a lot of these chronic and very common conditions that we're seeing so many people being diagnosed with, like IBS or irritable bowel disease, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, even learning disabilities or mood disorders like ADD, ADHD, autism are very much linked to food sensitivities, because with these particular conditions, depending on the exposure, a lot of these foods like dairy or gluten specifically can actually cross what's called the blood-brain barrier. And it's that blood-brain barrier that protects your brain from everything else in your body. And this blood-brain barrier looks kind of like a sieve where it has a bunch of holes, and it should be protecting us from larger proteins. But unfortunately, a lot of these food sensitivities are small enough that they can get through these holes and get right into the brain and cause it to become very irritated and inflamed. But even lung conditions like asthma, we've seen very much related to food sensitivities, or colicky infants. Usually it's something that they're being exposed to either in the formula or what the mom is consuming and is getting through the breast milk, and the baby is therefore being exposed to it as well. So typically if the baby is having digestive issues and it's a breastfed infant specifically, you, as a mom, may want to start avoiding some of the major food allergens. And then skin issues even are very much related to food sensitivities and very often get undervalued as a trigger. And you can see here we have some of the top allergens, and it does say the United States, but it's North America. Wheat, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, corn. And with corn, we're looking at a lot of the genetically modified sources of corn. Sesame seeds, soy is definitely another big one, and soy is also highly genetically modified as well. So these are the types of foods that we need to start thinking, how much of it am I being exposed to, and could this be the actual trigger to these otherwise completely unlinked symptoms or diagnoses that I've had that are causing me not to feel well. So really the question becomes, is it our food that's making us sick? And for most of my patients it is. And even just crazy symptoms that seem so unrelated, we always want to focus on the digestive tract first, because it's your digestion that really controls the rest of your body, and it's probably one of the most important organ systems to treat before we even start looking at anything else. So our next video is going to be going into more detail with regards to what a food allergy is versus a food intolerance or food sensitivity. So I hope you pay attention to that. That's coming up next. If you have any questions, concerns, definitely post them below in the comments section or email me directly, and visit the website www.themaximmovement.com. You can either book a visit with me or definitely check out my book, Maximized Health. And of course, as always, have a happy and healthy day.